So after that banger of a race that was Canada, there was a lot of hype going into this year's Spanish Grand Prix. But do we have anything to look forward to? Or rather, is Spain going to live up to Canada? Well, let's look at the stories entering the weekend and see what potential upgrades teams like Red Bull will be bringing, as well as bits of drama that has happened since Canada, such as the FIA updating the rules. So, having said this, let us make predictions for the 2024 F1 Spanish Grand Prix as we enter the first triple header of the season. Many teams have already announced that they will be bringing upgrade packages to Spain, and this shouldn't come to anyone's surprise, since Spain is one of, if not the most well-rounded circuit, since it has a mix of every type of turn and every type of straight. So if a team performs remarkably well, or hilariously bad, it could be an omen for the season. Anyways, let's discuss each team bringing upgrades and the details of their packages. First up, we have Aston Martin, and they announced that they are bringing an upgrade package to the ground of the car, and they hope that this can give them better race performance, specifically in relation to the tire performance. But, given their track record with upgrades, or rather downgrades, I would not be surprised if they are as mid as ever, or even don't score any points at all, since the Circuit Barcelona is basically their worst nightmare. Next up is V-Carb, and their main upgrades lie with the floor of the car, and this aims to reduce their drag problem and allow for better high-speed corner speeds, which is a major problem with the car at the moment. There are also upgrades elsewhere, such as the front and the rear wing, and altogether, V-Carb hope to shave off about 2/10 with the car and close up to teams like Aston Martin and start challenging them on a consistent basis. Moving on to the big boys, and first up, we got Mercedes. And they announced that a new floor will come to the car, which will help them give even more performance to specifically that front wing, which we will discuss separately soon. Mercedes have been cooking recently with upgrades, and I know I would love for another team to be in contention, so let's hope the floor works as intended. Next up is McLaren, and they announced that they are bringing more and more upgrades that aim to just better the car in areas where it's already good at, and now we just need to ask ourselves, how are they affording this? I say this because they're also going to bring in more minor upgrades at basically every race following this one, so let's hope they at least pay off with some podiums and maybe even wins. Next up is the Ferrari team, and oh boy do they need a bounce back. It's speculated that they are bringing in a new floor that aims to give them better tire warm-up, which can hopefully get rid of the Canada issue, as well as just make the car faster. Now, me and my delusion would say that they could go right back to the front, but after Canada and past races from before, I wouldn't be surprised if the falloff begins now, and end me if it does. Finally, we have Big Bad Red Bull. The Civil War team announced back in Canada that they plan to bring in upgrades that will aid their suspension issues, and I'd imagine that this will either make or break their season, since if they work, then we can expect Max to win everything. But if they don't work, we could probably still expect Max to win everything, but it won't be as comfortable or as easy compared to if the suspension issues were resolved, so we should keep an eye on them as this weekend goes on. Anyways, boring technical stuff aside, let's talk about the stories and the drama that has come from Canada, and while it is only 3 major stories, oh boy are they major. First of all, let's talk about the Mercedes front wing. For those who don't know, Mercedes introduced a new front wing recently and it's been showing some flexing, and Red Bull, being jealous, commented to the FIA saying it's illegal. Now, for all we know, it could be illegal considering that Aston Martin last year got screwed over for a similar thing, but in my opinion, it doesn't look too bad, so I think they'll get away with it. I have no source, by the way, I'm just saying it with my own eyes. Also, it's just been announced today that Alpine are considering abandoning their own Renault engine and switching to a different manufacturer in 2026, and I have nothing to say since I have said everything I think about the team in my Alpine video, which you should watch by the way. Anyways, let's get to the big story that came out this week. For those who weren't aware, the FIA announced that the super license rules, specifically the age part, will be changed so that a driver age 17 can race as long as they've displayed maturity, whatever that means. This obviously makes a driver like Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who is 17, able to start racing this weekend, and this has caused outcry. This mainly stems from people mad at the FIA and Mercedes, since Kimi would have the rules bent for him to get racing soon. Meanwhile, drivers like Colton Herta were told that they couldn't bend the rules for drivers like him. Now, I know the difference is that Kimi has enough super license points and is just too young, while Colton doesn't have enough points. But the point is that the rules were bent to aid a team like Mercedes, who I imagine are the reason why this was even allowed through their begging. Now, I mainly feel bad for Antonelli, since he is now the target for hate, and while it is understandable, we should also accept why Mercedes are head over heels for this kid, since he is rapid quick, and I would say in terms of talent, he is, in my opinion, Leclerc and Verstappen level, so I understand why Merc want the rules bent, but at the same time, Toto, he turned 18 in 2 months. Like, surely you could have been patient, right? Anyways, enough of this drama talk, and let us now move on to my predictions for the top 5 in quali and in the race. First up, let me explain how my predictions work. I will predict 3 things. First, the top 5 in the quali, the top 5 in the race, and another completely random prediction from any session. So having said that, first up, my top 5 quali predictions. And by the way, should be noted that these predictions are completely based on nothing but just vibes, so please bear with me. Anyways, for 5th place I have Carlos Sainz, 4th place I have Lando Norris, 3rd place I have Oscar Piastri, 2nd place I have Max Verstappen, and for pole position I have Charles Leclerc. Now for my race predictions, I have in 5th place, again, Carlos Sainz, 4th place Oscar Piastri, 3rd place Lando Norris, 2nd place Charles Leclerc, and for the race winner I have good old reliable Max Verstappen. For my random prediction, I'm feeling it in the air, so I will say that George Russell will unfortunately retire from the race due to engine issues at approximately lap 27. Anyways, that is the weekend stories and upgrades discussed and looked at, as well as my predictions for the quali and race for this year's Spanish Grand Prix. It should also be noted that these predictions are just vibes. It's what I feel in the air, and I'm confident that most will come true. Anyways, I know I said previously that I wouldn't have a winners and losers video for the Spanish Grand Prix, however, I changed my mind, and you can expect one for Spain, just that it will come out on Monday instead of Sunday. Anyways, I'd love to hear your predictions for the Spanish Grand Prix in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.